You are listening to the Pencil and Paper Podcast Network.
You're listening to the Horror Ramblings Podcast, the show about all things horror. We hope you enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Horror Ramblings Podcast. I'm your host with the most, Lester Blosser, and with me today is our other host, who is full of even more than I could ever hope to even aspire to. The extremely talented Stephen White.
Hello, Ramblers.
How are you today, Stephen?
Doing all right. You know, it's not a bad day. I'm waiting for tomorrow. The cooler weather's finally going to come in. It teased us for a moment, and then it was like, now we're going to get warm again because Tennessee. And then now the cooler weather should be back tomorrow. Nice 70-degree weather. Fall is here. This is our time.
Yes. You know, it's funny that you say that because we went to a little fall festival thing today. When we first got there, it was chilly, and I was like, it feels like fall. And by the time we left, we all were taking off our hoodies and our hats, and we're like, where did this warm weather come from?
Yeah, no kidding.
And I apologize if anybody hears me cough or anything, because when the weather does this crap, it messes with me. It really does.
Hey, he had the COVID croup, man. So we all.
I know you had it previously, and then we all got it, and that shit's no fun.
No, and you know what? I'm at least glad we didn't. I don't know. Can't speak to your experience. It was. I think for me, what was most terrible was just being isolated, because when I got it, Katrina was just then leaving for Ohio. I thought maybe I had the flu or something to that effect. Then a fever kicked in. And I was like, shit, I better go get checked. And sure enough, they said, yeah, you got it. I know where I got it. Damn it. Yeah. And that really made me mad because I was careful. I was very particular about where I'd go. And come to find out that at night, I had just moved positions in my job. And I was in a new desk, new area, and people at night like to use our desks as their own personal break space. And I found out that the secretary who works right beside me, she got it too. And I was like, well, you can't tell me this is a coincidence that we just happened to get it at the same time. Come on. So I know where I got it, and I was so mad because I had done everything in my power to dodge it. And that's how I got it, because of some inconsiderate prick using my desk as a break area. So, yeah, I was so mad. But, hey, I'm going to get another booster this year. I'm going to be ready. Same with the flu. I know it's not always 100%, but, hey, I'm doing my best.
If it helps, it helps. And if, you take the precautions. I mean, I know where I got the COVID at. We went to a family get-together. And there were a lot of people there. We camped outside, and it was kind of chilly at night, so we thought maybe we got, the flu or a cold or something like that. And then we were actually recording the night that I had gotten off, and then I had taken my wife, Samantha. I had taken her to the hospital, and she tested positive. Mm-hmm. They tested me. I tested positive. It only made me tired. Like, I was a little achy, and I had the cough. But other than that, I was just tired. I slept and slept and slept. Mm-hmm. And I don't know how it happened, but little guy, he did not get COVID at all. He tested negative. He didn't have any symptoms. So I'm assuming he was one of the people that can carry it, but can test negative and don't show symptoms and whatnot. Mm-hmm. And the baby got it, which, that's unfortunate anyways, but we're all recovering. But if anybody hears a cough, just know it's still some of that remaining, and it's the weather.
Yeah.
When fall finally gets here and decides to stay, it's going to be great. And it's hilarious that your weather was like that because I'm a few hours away from you, and our weather basically did the same thing today. So
Yeah.
kind of funny.
Oh yeah, I mean, normally a lot of the weather up there it can be cold up there, and it's kind of mild down here.
Yeah, it's insane. Even today we had some family come visit us, and they were like an hour away from us. And we were like, you guys might want to wear your hoodies. And they're like, really? It's like 70 degrees. The sun's shining. It feels great over here. Well, it's windy, cloudy, and about to rain over here. And they didn't believe us till they got here. And they were like, good God, what happened?
Yeah.
Now, before we get into the main subject of the show, I want to talk about something. I don't know if you've seen it, but I'm to the point I kind of want to bring up some more recent horror news for people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just we're the Horror Rambling Podcast. Might as well bring up a few things. Netflix has put the Dahmer series on. I don't know if you've seen anything on that yet.
I have not watched it yet, but I'm intrigued.
Yes, I have done some reading on it. Apparently, people are finding it difficult to watch.
Really?
I guess it makes people feel really uncomfortable. And they really get into the things that he did. You know, I mean, let's be honest, Dahmer was a story of sex, murder, cannibalism, everything you can think of. And they, I guess, don't pull any punches with it. People are finding it quite disturbing.
As well they should. I mean, you shouldn't want to watch a story about this man and be like, whoa, he's misunderstood. I've actually been hearing a lot of interesting tales recently, and I cannot remember the name of the series, but I think there was a series that came out on Hulu. I could be wrong about that, but it had, what's her name? She was in Texas Chainsaw Next Generation, Bridget Jones's Diary, Renee Zellweger. There we go.
Yes, sorry. Yep.
And she plays this woman who was who, you know, true crime story, serial killers or something to that effect. And the way they portray her is this, you know, flighty, likable type. Mm-hmm. And the victims are not really even focused on. And someone who was a victim of this crime spoke out, and they were just like, this is wrong. You know, I can't watch this because they're making her out to be somebody that she wasn't. Again, I don't know all the details, but yeah, why aren't we focused on the victims? Why are we glorifying the killers? And if this show is glorifying him in the worst possible way and making you just retch at looking at him and thinking about all the stuff that he's done, good.
I can't remember, this is going to sound terrible, Mr. Charming serial killer that all the women think he was absolutely gorgeous. They did a series on him too, and I cannot think of who it is off the top of my head.
I don't know that one.
It's gonna drive me crazy. But he like lured women into his car when they would be hitchhiking, and he'd, you know, take them and he'd kill them and everything. And you know, they did a series a little while back on him, and you know, they're like, we got to pick somebody really attractive to play him, and we have to do this and we have to do that. I get it. In real life, a lot of women found him attractive, and that's how he lured them in.
Sure.
But show the worst side of these people.
Yeah.
That's what you're supposed to do. These were terrible people. Don't glorify them. I mean, you know, it's just.
I mean, one of the biggest arguments is if they could take that as a win, that now they're solidified in cinema as somebody who got played by a big name actor, and now it's like, look, I was played by such and such in this movie. How about me? Ha ha ha. My story's told.
Well, you know, luckily Dahmer got murdered by his cellmate, so he doesn't get to enjoy any of the success that it might have. And speaking of actors, Evan Peters plays Dahmer in it, and I got to give him a shout out. I mean, he's great. He's great in American Horror Story. From some of the clips that I've seen of Dahmer so far, he's fantastic. I don't think I've ever seen a movie where his acting's been bad.
No, he's solid all around. I'll give him props.
He's a very talented, I don't want to say upcoming actor because he's been around for a while. He's been performing for a while, but definitely, I think, underappreciated. People would love his performances if they see him. And fun fact, he is not big into horror. He's really not.
Just really shocking.
Yeah, yeah. It's just like we met John Carroll Lynch,
Mm-hmm.
and he seems to take on a lot of roles where he's either, like a villain in American Horror Story. He's twisty. He's played several villains in American Horror Story. He was on a show called Channel Zero on Shudder, which I absolutely recommend. It's a great show. And he's not a big horror fan either. He'll even tell you, he's like, it's fun to play these characters because it makes you feel menacing, but in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not really his cup of tea. Like, he doesn't particularly like horror movies. It's just not big.
I mean, I guess for an actor, it's escapism in some form or fashion. So
Yeah.
to have that opportunity, I'm sure you would take that if you had it, but it doesn't mean you have to watch it. So yeah, I can get that.
Yeah. And I know you had posted up on our Facebook.
Mhm.
By the way, everybody, we have a Horror Ramblings Facebook. Find us, guys. You'll love it. Barbarian.
Mm-hmm.
I have heard fantastic things about it.
What was interesting is I had not heard, or I don't remember hearing anything about it initially. And then Justin Long happened to be on Good Mythical Morning this past week, and he had mentioned it. And I thought, okay. And then I didn't think to go look for the trailer. This morning, I wake up, and there's a trailer just listed Justin Long's next movie. And I was like, what? Okay, click. And I didn't relay it back to what he had said prior on that show. So I just start watching it. And it's all bubbly. It's just like, hey, from the studio that brought you Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Right.
And I'm like, what the hell is this? Okay, I'll just play along. And then it just descends, and it's like, and the producer of It. And I was like, oh, okay, here we go.
I love it.
Yeah.
When trailers take a turn like that. And there's another actor, just real quick, Justin Long.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. And he's been in so many horror films, but people don't realize it, I think, sometimes. He's just, oh, God, I love him in just about everything I see him in. Barbarian looks fantastic, though.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a new movie coming out. I think it's called, Smile or something of that nature.
Doesn't ring a bell.
I'm trying to remember the name of it because it is. I've seen some trailers for it, and it looks just, it looks fantastic.
Mhm.
It's got a lot of surreal moments in it. Oh, I cannot remember. It's gonna drive me crazy. I'm gonna see if I can find it just real quick. I'm gonna look.
Well, while you're looking, I'm gonna throw out a little thing for the Ramblers here, because people, y'all got to help me out. So there is something that I'm looking for, and Les, you're gonna have to look for it too, because I shared it on the Facebook page. I want to find it. Anybody who can find it, I'll pay for the shipping if you can get it to me. I'll even pay you for the whatever you paid to get it down here. There is a new beer, because I love beer. I'm a beer enthusiast, as I used to say on my old show. It's a Chucky pumpkin beer, and it's by Elysian. It's in a big tall can, got Chucky's face on it. If you see it, just hit us up at horrorramblingsgmail.com. I'll send you the money just to ship it down here, because I want to try this beer. And now that's not to say that I couldn't find it down here, but I have yet to find it at the moment.
Hell, we could even do a review of it.
Yeah.
We could post up a review of it somewhere.
Because
That would be awesome.
I'm intrigued, because, I mean, it could just be a regular pumpkin beer, but they said it was a pumpkin beer brewed with cranberry. And I'm sure that gives it the bloody, look that it's supposed to have. I guarantee it's going to be like a very red beer. So
Yeah.
I want to try this, especially with it being Chucky. That's a collector's can right there. I want to try this. Okay. So anyway, back to
The movie I was thinking of, it is called Smile.
Smile. Okay.
If you get the chance to watch the trailer for it, watch the trailer for it, because it looks like it's going to be a good one.
Smile.
I think it's already out, if I remember. Yeah, it looks like it's already out, or it's coming out on the 29th. But it's got some pretty interesting scenes in it. I mean, there's a scene where in the trailer where there's a girl sitting in a car, and this other person goes, "Hey," and she turns, and the lady's head like completely turns and twists down.
Ooh.
Yeah, looks interesting, to say the least. I know people need to mark their calendars too for the new Hellraiser film on Hulu.
October.
Not gonna lie, when they said they were making another Hellraiser, you and I have had this conversation a lot. With the Hellraiser stuff, I just get so tired of it because it seemed like every one that they were coming out with now was just garbage. And I hate to say that because there's a Hellraiser film that came out that Heather Langenkamp's in. She's not in the whole film, but she is in it.
Huh.
She's like a slumlord type character in it.
Now, was that one of the newer two that did not
Yes.
have Doug Bradley? Okay.
Yeah, one of the newer ones, and it had an interesting concept. They like typed these things on a typewriter, and they would like send it over, and then like this monster thing would like eat it and puke it up, and then they would like arrange stuff, and they would figure out like what kind of punishment they were gonna do, and a bunch of just weird stuff. But I mean, it was interesting.
Yeah.
But the movie it didn't do it for me.
Sure.
But the minute I watched this trailer, they refined it. They kept some of the characters that we love in it. You know, Pinhead's in it. It's a different person playing Pinhead. It's a woman playing Pinhead this time, which is amazing. And Chatterer is in it.
Yeah.
If you blink in the trailer, you might miss him. But Chatterer is in the trailer, and you know they don't exactly look like the original characters, and that's okay because that needs to change.
Yeah.
But the trailer, I mean, it really held my attention. And normally with Hellraiser films lately, when I see a trailer or anything else, I'm just like, I don't care. But
Yeah.
as soon as I realized this trailer was out, I watched it and I was like, man, I think this is gonna hit different
Now,
for people.
Is this the one? Because I feel like I've heard that there are two ongoing productions. It was this one and another Hellraiser, but I cannot remember who it was with. What, like if it was going to another streaming service, or going to theaters, or what? I can't remember. And it might have been a series for that matter, but don't hold me to that. But I've heard that there were two Hellraiser projects ongoing, and I wasn't sure if Clive Barker was involved in both or just one.
Now, see, I don't know that. I do know in the trailer. I'd have to do some research on it, but I do know in the trailer that they do mention him.
Yeah.
Multiple times. I think he actually is one of the producers.
Good.
One of the executive producers, and I also think he may have. I don't think he wrote the script, but I think he did give like some pointers and things. I think he was on the set. I believe he was present.
Yeah. Because I feel like he has to be there, and I feel like that's where a lot of it just fell apart. I know part 2, he was somewhat involved, not as much as he was in the original because he directed the original film, and then when it came to subsequent sequels, it just kind of got out of his hands because it started passing around to studios, and then it just fell apart. And I think a lot of the people who are involved do not understand what Pinhead is supposed to be, and that's why it got away from what it was. And even those that tried to kind of bring it back, you know, it's a hard thing to do if you don't really understand the material. And like, I'll give, I think, Scott Derrickson, who, by the way, if you want to go to Joe Blow Face-Off videos, there's a new video edited by yours truly, pitting two Scott Derrickson films together, Sinister versus The Black Phone. Go check it out right now. It's available. But he directed, I think, one of the, was it? No, it wasn't that one. He directed the 5th one, which was Inferno.
That sounds right.
I think he directed the
Sounds right.
Inferno, which was not bad, but it was lacking in some things, and I don't really necessarily blame him for that. But, you know, it's just one of those films that didn't quite nail it, and every subsequent sequel they were trying to do something new and different with the mythology, and I give him props. You know, I really did. As long as Doug Bradley was in it, I was in. I never watched the other two because screw that. You know, and I kind of figured that if Doug Bradley was coming back, he felt good about the material.
Yeah.
So he wasn't just going to do it willy-nilly. And then obviously once, Judgment came through, he was just like, nah, I'm not coming back.
Yeah, I think so.
So to me, that signaled no. I mean, when the man is not willing to come back, there's something wrong. So he saw the writing on the wall, as we all did. So I'm willing to see where a new take on this will go, and maybe we'll get a new Pinhead out of it.
Well, and I know, apparently, I guess he turned down doing a cameo in this new film, and I'm guessing it's probably because he wants. I believe he probably wants, you know, to let the new person take the reins, and he doesn't want people to be like, "Hey, wait a minute, wait a minute, Doug Bradley was in that."
And, you know, that's fair. I mean, there was even, I know this is not horror related, but in the same sense, I can kind of get that, is Scott Bakula turned down a role to return as Sam Beckett in the new Quantum Leap. And I don't know if he'll ever change his mind. I want him to, but I also get where he was coming from. It was just like, they're doing something new, they're doing their own thing, you know, congrats to them for doing it. Same with this. I think he's right on the money. You know, if a sequel comes around and she's proven she's a solid Pinhead, and there's a cameo for him in the sequel, go for it.
I can see that. Yeah.
So,
and on the Quantum Leap thing, I'm right with you there. In all honesty, if he didn't come back completely, give me just like, even if it's a movie on TV.
Yeah.
I want closure.
Oh yeah, for sure. Because look, the way they're setting it up, I don't know if you've watched the first episode or not, but
Not yet.
the way they're setting it up, if he doesn't come back, I would be surprised, because I feel, they haven't said this explicitly, but I feel the only reason they're doing this is to find him. Like that was the whole goal to start this up again. Again, maybe I'm wrong. But the way the pieces were laid out at the end of the first episode, I mean, that's what it has to be. Has to be. So if he's saying he's not back, I'll believe him. But dude, you should come back. Just
it'd be
you know,
it'd be kind of cool if he became like the guide.
Yeah, you know, I mean,
that would be kind of cool.
Even if just bring him home. Like you said, let there be closure. Do a 2-parter, whatever. They get him home. Bam, done. Sam is home.
Would love to see him make it home. I mean,
yeah, this whole he never made it back. Fuck that. That's
terrible.
Yeah, it was such a nothing ending. It was just like, well, he leaped, Al is fine, but Sam never came home. It's like, but why? Why?
Right? It's like, what
did he do? He did so much good.
Speaking of TV shows, and movies, since we're on the subject real quick, some people that got to watch The Munsters ahead of time on Netflix have kind of talked. They've not done any spoilers, but they've kind of talked about it a little bit.
Yeah.
They made a good point. Somebody said, you know, if you enjoy watching movies like the Goosebump movies that came out, or like Hubie Halloween that was on Netflix, or, you know, like those family comedy movies.
Yeah.
Not so much like the Addams Family movie and stuff, but if you liked like those other movies, like the Goosebump movies and those, The Munsters would be something that you would enjoy.
Okay.
So I have heard it's all about the mindset. That's what the gentleman that I heard say. He's like, it's not the Munsters that we all know and love from the series. It's not.
Sure.
This is before that. So I'm gonna watch it when it comes out. I'm gonna give it a chance.
Yeah, me too.
I know this
should be today or yesterday. Matter of fact,
maybe it already did come out. Yeah.
I mean, by the time this comes out, that's what we're saying.
Yeah,
we're letting you peek behind the curtain. Damn it! Just come on, hang on with us.
And then the 29th, Friday. Yeah, the 29th, which is Friday, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
The new Hocus Pocus.
Yeah.
Coming out. That was one of those movies I used to watch on the Disney Channel when I was a kid.
Mm-hmm.
I always enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Still enjoy it. My kids enjoy it. It's a fun movie. Is it the best movie ever done? No. But it is a fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the clips and stuff that I've seen of it so far, it looks like the sequel's going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say that it's going to be, something epic and everything. They did make a good point, though. Bette Midler even said, she's like, I don't know how they would do it, but if they decided to do a third film, I would come back.
Okay.
And somebody made a good point. They said if they do a third film, because there was a lot of scheduling conflicts, that's why the original cast didn't come back. Like, those kids didn't get to come back because there was a lot of issues. But somebody said if they were to do a third film, let the witches come back one time, or let the witches win to a degree at the end of the second film.
Yeah.
And for the third film, let the original kids come back and help the new kids take on the witches.
There you go.
I think that would be cool.
Oh, yeah.
I think that would be super cool.
Yeah.
So, and then we got the Spirit Halloween movie, and I'm looking forward to that.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime I get to see Christopher Lloyd,
Oh, yeah.
I look forward to it.
For sure.
So, but God, there's a lot going on in the horror community right now. I mean, fall is upon us.
Yeah, fall is upon us, man. This is the time. I know I'm going to be rewatching some movies here soon.
Yeah, I have a list of things that I need to watch, and I'm going to try to hit up a couple haunts this year.
Yeah.
So
I think next week, if I'm not mistaken, the first week of October, Shout Factory releases their next round of 4K Halloween movies. If you want Curse of Michael Myers, and then H2O, and then, God forbid, you want Resurrection. I don't know why they couldn't separate that.
oh man.
But hey, I'll have it in 4K and watch Busta Rhymes fight Michael Myers. Jesus Christ. I can't watch that movie.
Oh God. They should just do a movie where Busta Rhymes fights all of the slashers.
Yeah, why not? I mean, he's already taken on one. Let's get him on. Busta Rhymes fights.
I could just he grabs a leprechaun by his little feet and just swings him around, crashing it into people.
Here's your Lucky Charms, motherfucker.
Exactly.
Swear to God. What was
I could see it.
Gee, yeah, I could too. They would do it. Somebody out there would do it.
Oh God, I can picture it so well.
But hey, that's a perfect segue into our topic, because that would be
that's a what?
WTF moment if I ever heard of one.
Yeah, today's subject is WTF moments in horror films. Because let's be honest, whether it's a twist and you're like, what the fuck just happened?
Mm-hmm.
Or somebody makes a stupid decision, because it happens all the time.
Yeah.
There's plenty of them. We're going to talk about a few of them. I didn't do as much research as I had hoped to do, so I'll let you open the conversation, Steven, and
right.
I'll kind of get the ones that I have in my arsenal, I suppose.
Okay, I made a list of a few, and I was really trying to dig deep, because I know I've watched horror films and had those, oh my God, kind of thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And was trying to really pull back on those and try to remember those threads. I don't know if I got them all, but I feel like I got a few. I'm going to start with one that was fairly recent, and I don't know what I was expecting with this film, and I feel like the whole movie, even overall, could be a WTF moment, especially by the time you get to the end. But Hereditary had one big what the fuck moment for me, and it was when Charlie died. And Charlie was the little girl who made the little clicking sounds throughout the movie, if you haven't seen it. If you haven't seen any of these movies, you don't need to be listening to this, because we're going to spoil the shit out of them. But when she was having her allergic reaction, and she was trying to get air, and she stuck her head out the window of that car and then face planted that pole, I was like, what? Because I didn't know what to expect. I thought she was going to be there the entire trip of the film. She seemed like she was a primary character, and bam. And I was like, what? oh my God. And I didn't know what to think. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, just freaked the fuck out. And it really sits with you. And then obviously where the film goes down the rabbit hole from there, I mean, like I said, by the end, that's a big what the fuck moment by itself. I mean, with the mom pretty much cutting her own head off. I mean, good God.
Now, go ahead.
I was just going to say, Ari Aster, man, I mean, shit. You know, we talked about him before. Dude is he knows how to just keep playing with your emotions and doing these wild moments in film. So hats off.
Yeah, I have to admit, speaking of that film, one of the biggest what the fuck moments for me in that film is when they throw the dad throws the book or whatever it is into the fire, and he bursts into flames.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck is going on now?
I mean, it was just nonstop. I mean, you don't know what's happening.
Like when the movie starts out, the pacing, I think it's a little slow right there in the beginning, but then it builds up, and you're like, what is going on here? And then it's like one turn right after another, and you're like, Jesus criminy people.
Yeah, it's a ride for sure.
I'll give you that one though. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
All day.
So I would highly recommend, if you're looking for a movie to just shatter your expectations, especially if you're listening to this and you want to just really nail somebody with a big what the fuck, start with that one. That's a great one to start with.
God, Jesus. I've got a scene from a movie that when I was a kid was like a what the fuck scene for me. I've met the guy. It's a wonder. He only had a small part in the film. Let's talk about Marty from Poltergeist.
All right.
When Marty peels his face off in the mirror. Mm-hmm. To me, that's a what the fuck moment.
Yeah. You
know, you're not expecting. He has a little mark on his face, and he starts going at it a little bit. Next thing you know, he's got his entire face off, and you're like, okay, well, I did not expect to see that one happen. Which, that movie even has some what the fuck moments. Any kids out there listening, you're going to hear the F word probably a lot today.
Yeah. Come on, you should know what WTF means.
But that movie has a lot of just behind the scenes stuff that make you say what the fuck too. Mm-hmm. You know, like the corpses, the skeletons in it, they were real. Yeah. It was cheaper to use real skeletons, and the cast didn't know that until after the film was done. I'm sorry. It's just like, what?
Yeah.
You know, it's cheaper to use real human remains.
I mean, yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, if it's cheaper, if it helps the production. I mean, if you want a real deep dive on this, I would recommend going to Shudder, which all of you should be already subscribed to, I would imagine. Watch Cursed Films, you know, and check out what they did over there, because that was some deep dives into some stuff, and I learned a few little details I was unaware of. But yeah, that one I've heard quite a bit, and they pretty much confirmed it. It wasn't a rumor or a myth. They got human remains. And, you know, if it kind of makes you think that Jo Beth Williams in that film, when she's confronted by them in the pool, if she knew that or didn't know that, and I can't remember what they said, if she was aware, but if she didn't know and then found out after the fact, how creeped out she would have been for so long. I mean, oh my God.
It's, yeah.
I mean, I feel sorry for her.
Whew. Now, I got one more, and then I got one more real quick that just kind of, I don't know why this just jumped into my head. This is one of those you had to be there moments.
Okay.
In the ring at the end.
Yeah.
When she crawls out of the TV.
Mm-hmm.
To me, again, I'm thinking of moments where I'm sitting there watching the screen with my eyes wide open going, what the fuck is going on? That was not what I was expecting to happen at all.
Yeah.
In that film. That threw me for a loop. And it didn't make me, like... There must be something psychologically wrong with me somewhere, because horror films don't really bother me anymore. Mm-hmm. I mean, if I see something really gory, I'm like, ugh.
Ugh.
But I don't, I might get a jump scare, but nothing that I've watched recently has, terrified me.
Sure.
But something about that scene when I first watched it, when I watched her come out of the TV, it disturbed me, and I don't know why, but something about it just disturbed me.
Yeah.
It's not even when she gets up and you see part of her face. It's her initially coming out of the TV. Just something about that. Just it's hard to explain, but just. Oh.
I get it. I mean, she's kind of contorting her way out of the TV, and it's unsettling. So no, I get that.
But that's definitely a WTF moment for me in a film. What about you? What else you got?
All right, so I'm gonna hit you. You made me think of one that I'm gonna hang on to, and then I got another one I'm gonna jump on. But I wanted to bring this one up because I felt like I don't know if it would be a WTF moment to some, but it was for me because I had not seen it, and watching two movies back to back, like I mentioned, I was doing the Sinister Black Phone video, and I'd watched both of these movies back to back to have them fresh in my head. Mm-hmm. And Sinister's ending, man, is just that's grim.
Yes.
Because I mean, we got to the end, it was like, my God, we need a palate cleanser of something funny because this is grim.
Yeah.
You are trying to figure out what Mr. Boogie is all about. And then when you find out he's just getting kids to kill their parents and then taking them to his shadow realm so they're all dead, it's just like, God damn. So you just get to the end of it and you're like, all right, well, okay. And there's nothing positive. I mean, there's not a positive light in that film.
That movie's a downer.
Yeah.
Downer completely.
So,
like, ugh.
Yeah, we got to the end of that, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, man. Like,
makes you want to watch Care Bears for like 2 hours
right?
afterwards.
No, we went to the Golden Girls. We classed it up.
Hey, that works. That works.
So there was that. Now I'm trying to decide which one do I want to go to, because I got two I'm looking at. I guess I'll use this one because I think you kind of mentioned this. This was the movie itself, man. Sleepaway Camp is just one of those movies that is by the numbers. By the numbers. Yeah. If you've seen one camp slasher, you've seen them all. And this one's by the numbers. And they knew that they had to have a twist. Like Friday the 13th. They had to have a twist like any other camp film up to that point, like The Burning or something like that. So
yep.
They came up with the wildest twist, which was Angela's reveal. And I understand, I am to understand that this is a very problematic ending now. Back then in the 80s, not so much, because it was just like, holy shit, Angela's a dude? For me, it was like, I didn't know what to expect. And then all of a sudden she's standing there with a dick, and I'm like, what? What?
Angela's an Angelo.
Yeah. So I was like, this is your ending? And then you freeze frame on her face with that look.
Ugh.
And it's unsettling.
Oh,
and I think that's why it's such a big what the fuck moment for me. But I have had conversations that there was someone looking for a good horror recommendation, I think it was on Twitter, and they were like, what do you got? And I was like, dude, Sleepaway Camp. I said, the ending will just blow you away. And he's like, all right, I'm in. The next day he came back and was like, I don't know about that ending. That's problematic. And started giving me the rundown about it. And I was like, whoa. I was like, I'm sorry. I wasn't trying to offend anyone. To me, it was like, holy shit. So I get that it's problematic, but it's not about what it, or at least for me, it's not about what it's implying. It's just that it's out of the blue. The blue. Because you were convinced throughout the entire movie, they were trying to convince you it's Ricky doing the killing. And then suddenly it's like, ta-da! I'm Angela and I'm the killer and I also have a dick. It wasn't just that Angela was the killer. It was Angela plus I got a dick. It's a double whammy. So I'm so confused by it. That's what threw me off. That's what made me go, what happened? And then of course they turn Angela into some kind of kooky character in part 2 and 3. And I've not seen any of the returning films with Felissa Rose, who is a delight, by the way. If you ever get a chance to meet Felissa Rose, she is such a wonderful person.
I've heard wonderful things about her, and it makes my heart happy to know that her and Mark Patton, whenever they see each other or whenever they're at conventions together, they actually spend time together.
Yeah.
Like they really enjoy each other's company. That makes me so happy.
Yeah.
Now, I got one, but I want you to guess what scene it is, because I'm sure you can guess what scene it is. I'll tell you the movie.
Okay.
Misery.
It's got to be the hobbling scene.
The hobbling scene.
Yeah.
Up until that point, she was just nuts.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're like, she's keeping this guy against his will. Yeah, she's taking care of him, but she's off.
Yeah.
And, then she puts a board between his legs and wham.
Oh, yeah. You know what I think is so powerful about that, or at least how it works for me, is the film, and there's a few films like this that I could probably point to that are not coming to mind, but Misery is one of those films that plays out a certain way, and it's like there's no horror to it at all, but there's this unnerving sense about everything going on, and it's just quiet, and it's so good, and you're just compelled by the characters, and then this happens, because it's not a gore fest, it's just suddenly you're put in this position, it's like, oh shit, what's about to happen, oh shit, what's about to happen, oh shit, and then bam, and you're like, oh my God, and you're not expecting it, because up to that point, you've not been presented with anything like this. You are expecting something like this at some point, I'm sure, because she's a little unhinged. But everything is just so calm at this point. Even when she has her outburst, you're just like, okay, she should calm down.
She's nuts, yeah.
But then this happens, you're like, oh shit. So it really kind of sets the tone at that point. And then even when she kills the sheriff later on, they're shocking, they're jarring moments for this film because they don't feel like they fit, but they do. And they fit in all the right ways because they are very tempered moments of horror. Yeah. And they're more impactful because of that. So, yeah, that one's perfect.
Yeah, and, to kind of piggyback on what you were just talking about, I think the hobbling scene is so effective, obviously because nothing that extreme had happened up to that point.
Yeah.
But it's also the way that she is she's just so nonchalant about it.
Mm-hmm.
She's very professional about what she's doing to him. She doesn't show any emotion when she does it or anything, when she kills the sheriff and everything else, like, there's a little bit more panic in it. There's a little bit more emotion to it, but she's just, that she is just insane from that scene. Mm-hmm. And it just, for me, Misery was one of those films, and I love when films do this. You don't get a bunch of scares during the movie, but after you've watched it and you think about it, you're like, that could really happen to somebody. Mm-hmm. And like, it gets the gears turning.
Yeah, oh yeah.
And I love when horror films do that because, you can go watch a gore fest. You can go watch a movie where some guy's brought back from the dead and he's getting revenge on people, and you can get scared there. But you go home and some people don't think about that. A lot of people don't think about it in that sense. But this is just it's real. Yeah. It's a woman who is obsessed with someone, and she takes them and holds them against their will. I mean, that shit really happens.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah,
Misery is one of those ones. I had a feeling that you would have got that one. So
and that also shows the strength of the director and going kind of outside of his. I don't want to say he's not. I mean, Rob Reiner's not really a director you think of when you think of horror films, but that also shows, or at least proves in my mind, you get a very solid, competent director that can do different things. And I would love to see a director that is maybe better known for action or maybe sci-fi, maybe even just drama or just these big epics, and give them a small horror movie and see what they can do with it. Because I think their mentality, they could really find some nuance and angles that maybe some other horror directors are not thinking of. And I think that's what makes Misery so perfect, is Rob Reiner found nuance in different ways. I mean, hell, just the fact that Jimmy Caan was cast as Paul Sheldon. I mean, you're thinking about this big tough guy, from New York. He's just a big tough guy, and then he gets whacked. His feet get whacked. Yeah. I mean, big tough guy no more.
And it works.
Yeah.
It just, on so many levels, it's just, oh God, even thinking about it now, seeing that scene and just, every time. Every time.
It's a teeth.
Go ahead and you give me another one, and I've got one that's a downer.
Okay.
But I'll let you do yours first.
Yeah, I'm going to bring this one up because I feel like the entire movie is a big what the fuck. And some people might say the first one. I'm going to say the second one because I've never gone back and watched the third one. And that's the Human Centipede 2.
Oh.
Jesus Christ.
Oh.
This was an experiment to see how far you could push the boundaries. And oh my God, did the man push boundaries. Okay, so I don't know what the hell is wrong with this man. I can't even remember his name. I know he had some weird moniker like 6, something like that. I know it was something, I don't remember the fuck his name is.
I think it's like Tommy 6 or something like that.
Yeah, Tom 6 or something like that. It will say that. That sounds right. Anyway, yeah, if you've never seen this movie, you have to have a stomach of steel. And I say that because maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's people out there who can deal with it, and maybe they're I don't know. But I feel like you have to have a stomach of steel that nothing can bother you, because I had to stop this movie on several occasions because I was just clenching my eyes and my teeth going, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Ugh. And then there's the one scene, the most disturbing scene, which has to deal with a fetus and an acceleration pedal of a car.
Yeah.
Now, let me explain how this affected me. The moment I read this scene, I didn't see it first. I read about it because someone was doing the top 10 worst things in the movie. And they mentioned that scene. When I read that, I got lightheaded because the vision in my head disturbed me so much that I was just like, oh God. And I had to just take a moment and be like, breath, breathe. Okay. Whew. Because that was just, whoa, too much. Killing a fetus is just a step too far for me. You know what I mean? Like, I've even argued with my wife about children dying in horror films. Now, I don't feel like it should be done to a point. Puppet Master, The Littlest Reich, I'll give this one a big what the fuck moment. That movie can go to hell as far as I'm concerned. They had a scene in there. If you've seen it or not, I recommend no, especially if you're a fan of the original series, where one of the puppets goes into a pregnant woman and then cuts open her stomach where the infant is. And this is all for the sake of shock value. Nothing more.
Yeah.
There was nothing about that scene that needed to be presented on screen other than just to say, well, how far can we take this? Let's shock some people.
Yeah.
But I've said, as I've argued with her, if there's a death a death of a child that has a purpose, I'm okay with it. Assault on Precinct 13, Jaws, these were deaths of children that were horrible, but they served a purpose to the story. They drove the story forward. I let that slide. I'm like, I got it. I understand why they're doing it. Those were garbage. And both movies can go to hell as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I went into the Human Centipede 2 blind. I watched the first one and I was like, that was disturbing.
It was, but not like this. Jesus.
Yeah, but that particular scene involves the birth of the baby and the death of the baby all in one scene, and it's brutal. They did that movie in black and white.
Mm-hmm.
If it would have been in color, I probably would have upchucked my lunch.
Yeah.
Like, I don't normally have issues with gore in movies. This movie really just messed with me, and that scene in particular, I had to stop the movie. I had to pause the movie for a minute and just go, what the hell?
And
why am I watching this?
That's practically at the end.
Yeah.
You know?
That's one of those scenes that's just like,
What kind of sick mind thinks of that? You know?
I get that people like to push the envelope and they like to push and see how far they can get things.
Mm-hmm.
A movie that I've not seen, but I have read about, that also has something to do with a baby. There is a film called A Serbian Film. We've talked about this on, I think,
just casual conversation we have.
Yeah, I think maybe we talked about it a little bit on like one of our very first episodes too. Like we mentioned that we would probably never watch it. It's about a porn star who's retired and he needs money, and he gets with these people to make a smut film, basically. And there's something about that film that just, I've read about it. I've read about what happens in it, and yeah, it's a no-go for me because there's some very terrible things that happen to a baby in the film. There's a lot of terrible things that happen to a lot of people. Yeah. And at the end of the film, when the guy and his family and everybody kills themselves, you find out that the story's still continuing, and now they're bringing in dead bodies and dead children, and I'm just like, what is the deal here with this? It's... I get people want to watch things that disturb them, but at what point are you like, man, that's a little too far for me?
Yeah, there's a line to the depravity in which I'll go, and Human Centipede 2 really hit it, but Serbian Film, I'll never, no. Hell no. Yeah. It's kind of like Two Girls, One Cup. I'm not going to subject myself to that shit.
No.
I've heard. No.
No. Now I would honestly go back and watch the first Human Centipede. I would probably watch the first.
It's
first one again.
Tame in comparison. Yeah, I mean the subject matter is disturbing, but not like, there's just, it's night and day. It really is.
And to give anybody that hasn't watched it an idea out there, the first film is about a doctor who attaches 3 people ass to mouth. He makes a human centipede. Mm-hmm. He's a doctor. He's very professional. He's very clean about everything. The second movie is about some crazy guy who is obsessed with the first film and decides to make his own human centipede, and he is no doctor.
Yeah.
Let's just put it that way.
Very meta and disturbing. Like, there's even a scene, I think, that was cut from the version that I watched, and I'm glad that it was, because I could give a shit to see it. Something about him rapping, and I could be mistaken this, but I'm almost positive I heard that he took barbed wire, wrapped it around his dick, and then started to bang one of the people in the centipede.
I could believe it because there's, in the actual film, he jerks off with sandpaper.
Yeah, God damn. All right, we got to get off this fucking film.
Yeah. just a crazy movie. People just,
Christ.
Be prepared if you go to watch it.
Don't do it. Don't do it.
Oh, God. I've got one that's a downer.
Okay.
And it's the ending. And to this day, the ending still pisses me off.
I'm going to bet money it's on my list because I think I know. Right, go ahead.
It's a film that was made in 2007. It is The Mist.
Yep.
I had a feeling as soon as you touched your hat, like, I know it. Mm-hmm. I know it. I was like, I bet he has it.
Oh yeah.
Talk about.
That was rough.
I get frustrated even thinking about it. people, if you haven't seen The Mist, let's just put it this way. There's these creatures out in the mist, and at the end of the movie, the people try to escape. They run out of gas. The guy has enough bullets in his gun to kill everybody in the car except for himself. And he killed another example of a child dying to really pull at your heartstrings in a film.
Yeah.
He kills his son and everybody else in the car. He gets out of the car because he's going to let the creatures of the mist take him. And the fucking military comes to save the day.
Yeah.
After that movie, I just thought of all of the emotional baggage and everything that guy would have been going through right at the end of the movie. If that was me, I'd have ran in front of an army truck and got ran the hell over.
Oh, yeah.
Or I would have made them think I was going to shoot them so that they would kill me because I would not want to go on.
Yeah, it's
it just
gut-wrenching. And I honestly have to give credit to what's his name? The director, Frank Darabont.
Yeah.
So he did The Green Mile prior to this, as far as, I guess, a Stephen King adaptation. I don't think he did another one prior to this. Or, prior to The Green Mile, it was Shawshank Redemption, I think. I don't know if there was another one in between, but the fact that he stuck to that ending, because I know, I can hear it. There had to be studio executives saying, well, this is such a downer, and can't we make it happy? Can't they all survive? And he was like, no. And there's reasons for it, sure, but that doesn't make it any more or less heart-wrenching. And the fact that he stuck to his guns and is like, no, it has to be this ending. It does work, despite you feeling distraught for him. Because there are certain other endings to movies that try to do downer endings, and when you see it, you're like, no, it doesn't need to be like that. Case in point, I know this might seem like an odd choice, but just one that kind of came to mind, Little Shop of Horrors. Okay? I know it's a musical or what have you, but there was a downer ending. There was an ending where everyone died, and Audrey, too, went on a rampage. I've seen this ending. I don't like this ending because it negates everything about the movie, because Seymour didn't do anything wrong. Audrey didn't do anything wrong. They deserve a happy ending. Mm-hmm. So to take that away from them, it feels disingenuous for the characters. Here, Thomas Jane's character's he's got some questionable morals and whatnot, and he may have been cheating on his wife and what have you. And so you kind of feel like he got his comeuppance in a very, very fucked up way, but, you didn't want to be with her. You didn't want your family, so here's what you get stuck with. So it sucks, but still, it feels genuine to the film and the characters, bad as it is.
I always count it as like one of those what the fuck moments for me, just because even now, like if I were to sit down and watch the movie, I like the movie, I enjoy the movie, but as soon as I know that ending scene is happening, I'm like, oh god, here we go again.
Yeah, it hits.
It's just to this day, you're still just like, what? Oh man, come on, really?
Yeah. See, I'll throw out one to that effect, just knowing it's coming up. This is not a horror film, but it's a movie that gets to me, and I'm sure it gets to a lot of fathers, is the ending of Logan. As soon as I got to the end of that in the theater the first time, oh my God, that child crying over him, and just, I felt it. I felt it as a dad to a daughter, mind you. I felt it so hard. And I just started bawling. I can't watch it without crying. I can't help it. It just triggers something.
I have to tell you a movie real quick that gets me choked up. And this is not a horror movie either. This is kind of out there a little bit. Have you ever heard of the movie The Majestic?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Real quick story about it. Jim Carrey looks like a dead soldier that they never found his body in this town. Jim Carrey's character is a movie producer. He has amnesia because he got into an accident. Mm-hmm. goes to the town. He spends all this time with these people. He spends time with the dad of this soldier that died. The dad ends up in the hospital, and the dad's dying. Jim Carrey gets his memory back.
Mm-hmm.
But he also remembers everything that he did with these people, the relationships he forged with these people. This guy is going to die thinking that Jim Carrey's character is his son. And he looks at him and he goes, "I love you, son." And Jim Carrey, knowing he's not this guy's son, looks at him and he goes, "I love you too, Dad." And he's just sobbing because he really does love this guy, because this, he remembers all the stuff he went through.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, even to this day, that scene just gets to me every time.
I get it. Hey, look at that. We just brought up another Frank Darabont film.
He's getting some love tonight.
He is.
Now, if you have another one you want to bring up first, I've got one. It might not be a movie you've seen. I don't know.
Okay.
But
I've got two more, and I'm going to leave one for last. But the next one I'm going to bring up is a fairly recent movie.
Okay.
I didn't know what to expect. I didn't go in with any expectations. It was a day and date on HBO Max, directed by James Wan, who we've given a lot of credit to. I don't know if on this show, but I know in our personal conversations, we've said the man, we trust that he's got good intentions. So the fact that he's...
I know what you're talking about, I think, too.
Yeah, I think the fact that he's on board with the Train to Busan remake, I was a little skeptical because I love that movie so much. But the fact that he's on board, I'm like, all right, well, maybe it's in good hands. We'll see. I'm still kind of skeptical, but Malignant,
Yes.
the twist in that, finding out about Gabriel, and the fact that it's right there in the title. We just don't think about it. But he's a freaking malignant tumor on the back of her brain. Holy shit. I didn't see that coming at all. When they whipped that around and were just like, oh yeah, it's right here. And you're like, what? Oh my God. So she is essentially being puppeteered. The main, Madison, I was trying to remember her name. She's being puppeteered by her, I guess, what's the proper term? It's not conjoined.
Her parasitic twin.
Parasitic, that's much better. Conjoined, not so much. Parasitic twin, Gabriel, and he's just right there on the back of her head, grotesque face and all, and just gets out and does his thing, and that explains all the contortion stuff that we see. And
I was gonna say something about that. Kudos to them for making that scary as hell, because it could have looked really weird with him, going backwards and everything, but they made it work.
Oh yeah. I was really impressed with that. It's one of the... horror is just one of those genres that everybody's trying to get into it. Everyone's trying to do their own thing, and I don't feel like... I don't want to give like a bad statistic. Let's say 75% of most horror films that come out nowadays, I don't feel like they land properly. Like they don't understand the genre they're in. Or they're trying to do something, like we've mentioned, trying to shock for the sake of shock value. And they're missing all the right points with a horror film. This one was one of those that got it right. Obviously because you had talented people behind the camera. So, yeah, it was, that was a wild ride. And I'm kind of glad it did show up on HBO Max when it did, because I think I would have watched it eventually, but the fact that it was just one of those day and date, I was actually just consuming a lot of that stuff. It was like, shit, this is a movie that's in theaters right now. Why not? Why wouldn't I? Right? So I just took advantage and I jumped on board, and I was really impressed with it.
And real quick, this is sort of in regard to what you just mentioned about, missing the point on a horror film, or, having talented people. I feel like I need to bring this up real quick. To me, personally, a horror film, for it to be good, it has to evoke emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't just mean fear. I think the horror genre, which we've talked about it before, it is so fantastic for the simple fact that you can sit there and watch a horror film and you can get emotions that it takes several films of different genres to make you feel.
Yeah.
And for a horror film to be good, I want a horror film that might give me some laughs, might make me get a little teared up, make me angry, get my adrenaline going. But not, I want to feel all those things.
But not angry at watching a child die or doing something grotesque with something. I mean,
I want to be angry that somebody, I want to be mad maybe that somebody died or somebody made a choice that they made.
Right.
Don't just give me shock value. Shock value is great, but make it count. You and I have talked about that before. Make it more meaningful, and that makes it work.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes I just want to watch a guy with a chainsaw run around and hack everybody up. Everybody wants to do that from time to time. Even Freddy versus Jason, which anybody out there listening, there's one shot for today. If you listened to our last episode. But they brought somebody in who wasn't really familiar with the characters to direct the film. And that's where we got the story that we got. Jason's being used as a puppet. And Jason's not happy about that.
Yeah.
And you almost side with Jason in a sense that you feel bad for him. And you get to like some of the characters in the film really well, and you get mad when people get killed the way that they get killed or that things happen.
Yeah.
It's a movie that, yes, a lot of people are like, it wasn't that good of a movie, but it's a movie that I love for the simple fact that it gave me an emotional, connection to it.
I think it's one of those that I could watch just about any time. I don't know what it is about it, but it's one of my all-time favorites because they did the unthinkable. Something that I don't think a lot of films nowadays, or even since, have been able to pull off, and that's a proper versus movie that does justice to both sides and does it right. Because you take a look at something like Alien versus Predator, they tried to utilize that idea of trying to side with the Predator, which I guess at the end of the day we all would, but there's not that meaningful connection. Like Jason, you sympathize with him, as you know Jason, you know who he is.
Yeah.
You know he doesn't give a shit about anybody, and he's going to slaughter everybody that he gets in contact with. Doesn't matter. But for a moment, you sympathize with him. You see what Freddy's trying to do to him, and you're just like, yeah, go kick his ass. I'm with you. Okay, just do it.
And even the way that they connect the kids to Freddy in it, and they connect, the mother was killed by Freddy and it was covered up, and all of it. You know me, and anybody that listens knows that I'm a huge fan of Freddy.
Another shot.
Even God, it's like, even seeing the way that they did him, like, you want to hate him, but you're like, he really is a monster.
Yeah.
Like, you feel that, and it connects with you. And the way that the characters interact with everything going on, it gives you that connection. But I had to bring that up. Like, that's been on my mind a lot lately.
Yeah.
There, you can watch the lowest budget film out there, especially horror films. You can watch the lowest budget, just everything looks fake. But if I get an emotional connection to either a character or the story itself, I'm going to enjoy the film. Katrina's a perfect example. I know she doesn't like ghost movies, but the movie like Mama, movies like that, she will watch because it's not just a vengeful spirit. It's a spirit that has suffered loss.
Yeah.
There's an emotional connection there.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't realize that with horror films, you can get an emotional connection to them. It's part of being human. We all want to root for the good guy. Sometimes we want to root for the bad guy. I mean, it happens.
I was just gonna say, if you're gonna glorify a killer, let's make it a fake serial killer. Like Jason and Michael Myers.
The fake guys of credit. Now I have a what the fuck moment. This is from a fairly new movie, but it's it's not a what the fuck moment for the reason that people might think.
Okay.
Dewey dying in Scream, what was it, Scream 5?
Mhm.
Yeah. To me, that was a what the fuck moment, but it was a what the fuck moment not because he died, because you and I have talked about this as well. Somebody had to die.
Yeah.
To me, it was a what the fuck moment because he made mistakes that you would have figured he would not have made
Yeah.
after everything he's been through. He went alone, and he looked at his phone when he should have just gotten the job done.
Yeah.
So, to me, that's just a moment where I'm like, what the fuck, man? Like, really?
Yeah.
Come on.
It was a bad way for him to go down. You know?
Yeah, it was amateur hour.
Sure. I mean, he was well beyond that at that point.
Yeah. It's just a what the fuck moment that pisses me off.
Right.
Now, I have one. I don't know if you have ever seen The Taking of Deborah Logan.
I've seen it on streamings, but I've not watched it.
So the woman is possessed by a demon.
Okay.
I shouldn't spoil too much for you in the film by revealing this.
Okay.
But there is a scene in the film where it's like a found footage film, you know. The lady has Alzheimer's.
Mhm.
She has dementia or whatnot. And they're filming like the effects of that on a family and everything. But there's a scene in it, because she acts kind of weird in the scene in the film itself, but there's a scene in it where they go back and she's got this young girl, and she has her jaw unhinged like a snake.
Ew.
And she's starting to eat this girl's head. Like, she's going to swallow this girl whole. The first time I saw that scene, I paused it so I could actually see what was going on. And I was like, what the ever-loving fuck is going on here? Okay. And I watched the whole, you know, I eventually hit play. I watched the movie. But then I Googled it because I wanted to see that scene. I've never had a scene just throw me off like that.
Yeah.
So if you watch that, please let me know what your reaction is when you see it,
Okay.
because it's just, ooh.
Trying to visualize it, I'm sure, is not even doing it justice.
No, in all, and the way they do the scene, like when everything clicks back into place and everything,
Mhm.
she still doesn't look completely normal, but you're like, okay, there's more going on here than I thought. But that's definitely one of those scenes in a film that I'm just like, did I just see what I think I saw? Because I'm just like, oh God. Now you said you had one more, right?
Yeah, I got one more.
Because I want to bring up one other thing, and this movie has a sequel out in the theaters right now, which I just want to say I am so happy that this is happening. This film, Terrifier, is the film I'm going to talk about the moment from, but the sequel is in the theaters, and they've actually been selling more tickets than they really thought they were going to.
Awesome.
It's the type of movie. It's a hyper gory indie film, basically,
Mhm.
is what I would say. And they did not expect it to do as well as it's doing. Like, they actually had to put it in more theaters so people could see it.
Oh, wow.
And I want to go to the theater to see it because I saw the first one. Art the Clown is going to become a horror icon. I will vouch for that now. I truly think he's going to be up there with the 80s slashers that we all love.
Yeah.
Like, to me, he's that iconic. Like, he's growing more popular. But the whole first Terrifier film is full of what the fuck moments. It really is. But there is a scene in the movie. There's two girls in the movie that he stalks at the beginning. And one of the girls walks over and takes a selfie with him. And he does not like that. Well, the one girl wakes up tied to a chair, and Art goes over to this curtain, and he pulls the curtain, and the girl that took the selfie with him is hanging naked, upside down, with her legs spread open. And Art digs through his bag of goodies, and he pulls out a hacksaw. And he cuts her in half, from the goods to the face.
Yikes.
And the whole scene, you're like, what is going on here? I mean, and he's vicious about it and he smiles about it, and you're just sitting there and your brain is trying to process everything.
Mhm.
I'm sure I had smoke coming out of my ears because I'm watching it. I'm like, and my head just was not feeling it. And he gets done, like he hacks through her like she's nothing, and you're like, did that really just happen? But God, the movie is full of moments like that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily that gory, but it is full of moments where you're like, what is going on here?
Mm-hmm.
I know you and I have talked about it. I know you're kind of on the fence about watching it because you put it perfectly, and I've told you this too. It really is a mean film.
Yeah.
Like, he's just a mean character. Is it worth watching? I think so, because I think you can appreciate it.
Yeah.
Because the way that they set everything up, there is more to the villain than you think. I'm kind of bummed because certain characters die that I did not want to die in the film.
Mm-hmm.
But it happens.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that the sequel is going to be just as brutal. But yeah, that's the last one I have there. So if you wanna get into your last one, I'm excited to know what it is.
Yeah, no, I'll definitely watch Terrifier. It's one of those that I do want to watch, but I know that I'll have to watch it alone because I don't think that's one I could feel comfortable in trying to convince Katrina to watch with me. So I'm gonna have to find time on my own to do it, and I've yet to do so. But my last one that I have, I feel may seem out of left field, but follow me on this because I think for me it was a shocking ending for a film. I had seen a remake of this film probably more often than I had seen this film up to that point, so I was very familiar with the way that film ended, and I knew that this character died in the remake, but not in the same fashion. And it just caught me off guard the way it all went down, and it kind of left you with a downer ending, and that is the original Night of the Living Dead. And that is the death of Ben, who was our hero throughout this entire film. And the sun comes up, you've got this gang, this posse out, taking out, all the zombies, rounding them up. And he's looks out the window of the house. He's there, and then next thing you know, he's got a bullet in the head, and you're like, what? And it was just so shocking and jarring because that was not the ending I was expecting. Because, again, I had only seen the remake. Now, I knew that he had died in the remake, but it was not in the same fashion. It was he had died in the cellar and became a zombie, and then, it made his death feel less impactful, in that regard. So this one, on the other hand, it was just, there were so many layers, and I've heard people deconstruct what the death of Ben meant. It could have been something racial, because at the time, 1968, there was a lot of racial tension with the black community, and the way the scenes at the end during the end credits were kind of laid out and portrayed was just very dark and gruesome. Almost kind of had like a very snuff film element to them. Like they just felt real. And it was just, I got to the end of that film and I was not expecting that at all. And I was just floored by it. I was like, holy shit. And it was one of those downer endings that you're just like, man, what? So you're just kind of left wondering, and you just feel empty. And it's very much a reflection of the times, honestly. Because, you talk about this time, Vietnam's going on, the world was cynical. So it was definitely spot on for the time. Because it was a very cynical ending.
I have to say this real quick. I remember the first time that I watched that, and he gets shot. I remember sitting there, and I looked at my dad. And I try not to curse in front of my parents too much, out of respect. But we watched it because Dad was like, "I bet you'll enjoy it. It's an older film, but you'll enjoy it." And they shoot him, and I look at my father and I go, "Are you fucking serious?" He made it through all of that just for that to happen.
Yeah.
God,
it's rough. I mean,
That's-
Dawn of the Dead has a more positive ending than that. Hell, even Day of the Dead.
Yeah. You know, I could think of a few more like twists in films that are like what the fuck moments, but I honestly think I want to leave it with what you just said, because I can't top that. Maybe we should do an episode about like twists in movies
Yeah.
that are good, but oh god, now you got me rethinking that whole movie again. That really is though, like, and it's such a good movie, and you root for him so very much.
Yeah.
And you want him to be okay because he's a likable character, and then just bang, and it's over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's over so instantaneously, and you're lost in it. Like, you don't even have time to process it because it happens so quick.
Yeah, and they're just like, put another one on the fire, let's go. You're
Yeah,
like,
and
what?
like that, and it makes it feel. It gives you like an empty feeling, because you see what these characters go through in all this, and then if they die and, you know, put another one on the fire, it just makes you realize, like, in the grand scheme of things, he was nothing to the rest of these people,
Mm-hmm.
to the rest of this situation. And that kind of mirrors the real world in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
You know, some people's stories are the biggest thing to them. What's going on in a person's, you know, some people's lives, what's going on in their life is the most important thing. They think it's the biggest thing ever. And then they get a wake-up call, and they go out there and they realize it's a big world.
Yeah.
God. Way to make me rethink my life, Steven.
Oh, you're welcome.
Oh, my goodness. Well, I don't have anything else right now. This was a decent episode. It was shorter than normal, a little bit, but we got to our points fairly quickly.
Oh yeah,
today.
we didn't have to really spend a lot of time on them.
But if you don't have anything else that you want to share or anything, if you want to tell the wonderful ramblers out there where they can find us, send us some love, we would, you know, appreciate all of that.
Well,
You know, guys, just saying.
as he said, Ramblers, let us know what your favorite WTF moment in horror is on Twitter at horrorramblings. But if you want to say more than just one little bit, you can send us an email at horrorramblings@gmail.com. And if you love social media groups, follow us on Facebook, join our Facebook group, hang out with fellow horror fans like yourselves, and you can discuss all the what the fuck moments that you love or just despise. You can even find us on Instagram to see an assortment of horror images. If you do Discord, you can join us over on Discord. No one has done that yet, but I mean, it's there at the Horror Ramblers room, and we can discuss horror stuff. It's a lot of fun, you know. You should come over and we could do stuff there. Wherever you want to do your social media talking, it's all there. And if you're feeling generous, want to support the show financially, head over to patreon.com/pencil and paper productions to chuck in a buck and help this and other shows like it grow. If you want to say nice things about the show, head on over to Apple Podcasts, leave us that beautiful 5-star review, get to express your feelings and help the show grow at the same time. You can also do that very same thing on Spotify, right in the app, if you're so inclined. You can even answer our questions and polls that we post every week. It's all appreciated. But most importantly, tell your fellow horror fiends to search Horror Ramblings on the preferred podcasting platform. We should be everywhere. If we're not, we're still working on it. And if nothing else, keep up with any and all things at pencilpaperproductions.com/horror-ramblings. Links are in the show notes for your convenience.
And remember, guys, stay spooky out there.
This has been the Horror Ramblings podcast. Join us next time for even
This has been a Pencil and Paper Podcast Network production.